Hi, I'm Melissa Parfit. I'm the executive chef at Sister in Oakland. Sister has been owned by a husband and wife team for about 3 years now. Finding my own voice as an executive chef here, I realized I came back to basics a little bit, where just respecting the ingredients, that's the way that my food shines. I was lucky enough to work at Niku Steakhouse in San Francisco. I feel like I barely even know, a tiny bit just from what I learned. So first we're gonna get started on the sauce soupes. 2 onions will be more than enough for this recipe. And you're gonna put the butter in the pan. You want the butter to slowly melt, but make sure that it doesn't turn brown at all. So we can go ahead and put our onions in. You just wanna be sure to keep a close eye on the onions. You wanna keep stirring them. So I'm gonna put a little bit of just regular kosher salt in. And once the onions get super soft and translucent, that's when you know you can blend them. I'm just gonna take ginger, slice up the ginger. And then you want to get sake that's not the highest quality. So I have about a pint of sake. You're just going to put the ginger in with the sake. I'm going to let it reduce by about half. Prep our king trumpet mushrooms for the dish. They hold up well to a high searing point, so I'm just going to cut off the woody ends. You can use these to put in stock. I'm going to cut them in half so that we can sear them flat side down. And then I'm just going to do some little cuts in here, little crosshatch. And when I was breaking down our piece of Wagyu earlier, I saved the fat and rendered it down. So the fat from it, the solid fat, this is just liquid Wagyu fat now. Meanwhile, it looks like our sake is getting nice and reduced. So I'm gonna turn this off. We're just gonna strain the ginger out. When we put the mushrooms in, we're just gonna put them face down. What we're looking for with these is them to get a nice brown color. So once these trumpets are getting nice and soft and they get a little sear on the other side, I'm just gonna put them on a paper towel here. So we got our cast iron pan nice and hot with some Wagyu fat in there, and this is a main event. I'm gonna sear all sides. It's really best served rare in the middle. I'm using a spoon just because the meat is so tender and full of fat that it just sinks into it and damages the meat. You want to be sure to go equal amounts on each side. That looks good. I'm gonna take it out and into the sake goods. So I'm just gonna put some sous vide down on the bottom of our board here. Just give these mushrooms, find a little sprinkle with some fleur de sel. Let's get our pan hot with some fat in it again. Again, same amount of time on each side. This time it's gonna caramelize a lot faster because of the sake, so don't walk away. Also with this type of meat, you wanna make sure that you work pretty quickly. All sides nice and caramelized. So I waited about 30 seconds to a minute, and I'm gonna go ahead and slice. Finish with a little salt. And garnish with a little bit of the chili oil. I think it's important to know that the beef will oxidize. So to be very careful if you're cutting it into portions ahead of time to wrap it in parchment so that it doesn't oxidize. I think when people, they get excited about Wagyu and they wanna maybe buy a lot, or like bigger is better, I would say kind of less is more. Buy maybe smaller cuts from different areas and really think about where they came from instead of getting excited and buying a big old piece. It has so much fat in it that it's only really gonna cook a certain way best. And even if it looks super rare in the middle, it's still gonna melt in your mouth. It's not gonna be chewy. You have to treat it very carefully and tenderly, as opposed to a bigger cut of meat that you could kind of like mess around with a little bit more.